Sentries, inboards, turn! Sentries, wide alert, quick!
Tell me about the bag that you have.
Well, this is my kit bag. That's our own vacation. Remember when we went on board. And
So
this is my regimental number, 32952. There. And that's what I carried on board. And then when it got too full, you had a bit in here to fill up the top. And this is the bag I carried when I went on board the boat.
and you've kept it all this time?
Yeah, and I had a tin hat to come on with my number on it.
And that's the original, your
This
original
is my
hat?
original bag I carried to the Middle East.
So Dennis, you've been here, you've been to the Remembrance Service. What are your impressions of today?
I was very impressed the way it was organised. It was a very solemn occasion, and I think it was done very well. Reflected the importance of the occasion with everybody on this ship who had previously been serving in the World War II, for those who were invited and physically able to get here. And I think it was a great opportunity for them to reflect back into the past and also to meet some of their former comrades in arms.
I had a job there. I was a runner for AC troops. So what I do was still outside the office and be called to go on messages all over the ship, which was quite good.
Well done. So Peter, wonderful Remembrance Service. What are your impressions?
It's very moving actually to be here in Sydney Harbour with both Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, but more so the 72 veterans. I mean, I'm a youngster compared to them, and I have so much respect for what they actually did during the war years, and to meet them is very moving actually.
How remarkable to see fellows who went to war on board Cunard ships 70 years ago, and here they are today. They were really into it, weren't they?
Yeah, and the best piece of that is that they came back. So, some didn't, and that's what we're remembering today. But they have such vivid memories. I mean, one of them just gave me his orders and the time they sailed from Sydney, and of course they didn't know where they were going. And then they found themselves in Singapore. They had no idea they were going into Singapore. And then he went on to tell me of some of his experiences there. It's quite remarkable.
Do you think there's lessons to be learned there today for all of us about just the extent to which Cunard Line was involved in the defence of Australia?
Well, we often talk about the history and the heritage of Cunard Line and what we've done in different wars, and therefore it's just right that we commemorate that, and it's just it's marvellous, very moving for everybody.
Just finally, did you realise that the original Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth had such a profound effect upon these Australians and Australians generally?
I hadn't given it enough thought, and now that I've been here and experienced today, then Sydney will be even more of a special place for us in the future.
Good afternoon, and I hope you're enjoying your lunch, ladies and gentlemen. And as I said earlier, a very special welcome, particularly to our veteran friends today here in Sydney. As my colleague Anne Sherry said this morning, we're really in the company of members of Australia's finest generation. And this lunch in our magnificent Britannia restaurant is very much for you. I fear that circumstances may have prevented us from giving you a proper Cunard welcome when you and thousands of your mates came on board our ships. Our grey ghosts. So we weren't there with our White Star service, the Master was not there to greet you, but today a very personal welcome on board from everybody at Cunard Line. leading up to this event, my friends in the Australian office have scoured the official record of the Australian War Memorial, and they discovered in September 1941 the Secretary to the Minister of the Army sent this message to his department. The Minister desires to see the voyage-only reports received to date for the transports on Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. In true Sir Humphrey style, a department official replied in a beautifully handwritten note, "If the Minister desires all the voyage reports, he'll be supplied with files at least a foot thick. It's therefore requested a more specific indication of the sort of information he requires is given." We can't be certain 70 years on what sparked the Minister's curiosity or concern, but the voyage report of April 25, 1941 might be a clue to why the Minister was worried about its troops. It says, "More accommodation should be provided for wet and dry canteens. Extra beer pumps should be available on the ship and need to be installed in the sergeants' and men's canteens. And there's still insufficient beer for demand. The result is the service of the beer is far too slow. The men in some cases have resorted to the crew bar and much policing has been necessary. Gentlemen, I give you my assurance there's no queuing for a glass of wine at lunch today." It was a huge event in your lives, of course. Leaving your homes and families was no small thing. And in recent weeks, you've shared some of your experience with us. Your accounts, and some of them I heard this morning as well, I found them particularly moving. But your accounts have told us some of the stories that take us in a step back in time. In every respect, though, the stories come with a sense of optimism and humour. Murray Sweetapple is with us today, and I particularly enjoyed his account of the huge vat of porridge stirred with paddles on Queen Mary 2. Breakfast for 2,500 soldiers. Well, here in the Britannia restaurant, that's not quite how we do it today, but you can still have porridge. Sandy Nipperes, representing 450 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force. Thank you for sharing the squadron's orders of the day for boarding Queen Elizabeth on the 9th of April. They said, "All ranks, with the exception of officers, must remove their boots and replace them with sand shoes. And yes, today we're still very careful about looking after our teak decks." George Shirley, we're indebted to you and the National Film Sound Archive of Australia for some of the historic footage that we've seen. I think it was you who said, George, that the wartime movements of Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth were a state secret, but it seems everyone lining the harbour seemed to have a camera, so they certainly got pictures of our fine ships despite the secrecy. Gunner Alan Buxton, belated congratulations on scoring your plush two-berth cabin on A deck on Queen Elizabeth in 1941. Not quite sure how you got that, but well done. I know that a senior officer in your unit apparently tried to have you evicted so that he could go there. So 3 cheers to the ship's purser who told your senior officer to go jump in the lake. It's great to know that some of you have your experiences on Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth and actually gave you a taste for cruising. Doug Wiley is here. You sailed on Queen Elizabeth in 1941, but more recently on Queen Mary 2 from Southampton to New York just last year. So welcome back on Queen Mary 2. Henry Caldwell, congratulations to you and your wife Gloria on your 25 cruises, and bon voyage for your next 42 voyage on Sun Princess in a few weeks' time. Having read all of your experiences, it's been a great pleasure to meet so many of you in person today. And as I said earlier, I spoke to a couple of gentlemen veterans, and you know, it's quite humbling for me as a very young person, I guess, compared to most of you veterans, to listen to some of those personal stories that I have read about, but to meet some of you who were actually there and endured your way through it. I'm just remarkably proud to be able to be in your presence. But I also know that never far from your mind are the mates that didn't return to these shores, and those have since passed. A little later this very special lunch, you're going to meet someone who's rather special to all of us at Cunard Line, and his name is Cyril Bircher. Cyril ended the war as a flight lieutenant in 86 Squadron of the Royal Australian Air Force. He earned a DFC for numerous air missions escorting convoys in the North Atlantic. At Cunard, we know Cyril as the man who saved Queen Mary, and we'll be hearing more of Cyril's amazing story shortly. In the meantime, a round of applause for Cyril and his family, and well done for being so healthy today.